Okay, so we're at the Gartner 2022 Expo, and I'm talking to Kamal Hathi, who's the Chief Technology Officer at DocuSign. Now, DocuSign, you probably know, has been around for a long, long time, 20 odd years, and we all know it as that electronic signature provider, and it's a pretty trusted brand in that space. But obviously, Kamal, you've been doing a bit more than collecting signatures for the last 20 years. What are you doing with the documents that those signatures are attached to?
Right, so I think important to point out a couple of things. One, DocuSign pioneered electronic signatures. We really enabled this whole discussion of digital transformation, going from paper to the digital. It's a first step, and DocuSign pioneered that. What we do is both pre-signature and post-signature. It's not about what we do with the documents after they're signed, but also important what we do with documents before they're signed. So we provide solutions for the entire agreement lifecycle, for the contract lifecycle that goes from preparation, collaboration, redlining, when some two parties work together. Agreements aren't just automatically created. Most of the times, at least complicated agreements, require that collaboration. So we enable that. We provide collaboration. And in that kind of collaborative creation phase, we actually help you with things such as we can warn you or guide you on what parts of your contract, what clauses are standard, not standard, what you should pay attention to, where should you, spend more time looking at the words, where not, etc. So we become an assistant, if you will, almost like a paralegal assistant, if you will, an intelligent assistant that helps you craft and create those agreements. And then clearly we allow you to sign them. But it's not just signature as in, you go to DocuSign and have a little facsimile for signature show up, but sometimes just a click. We allow you to just literally like a button click and it does a full-blown, electronic, acceptable legal signature. We do video-based notarization, where you can be across the country, across the world, and we can sit on the video and make sure it's you, your likeness is you're a real human being, you don't just put a picture up. We do ID verification, so things such as looking at your passport, your driver's license, and make sure who you are, and in that process make sure you sign. And then once you do the signature of the contract, we end up doing multiple things with it that you can take advantage of. The most important one being integrating into your systems of records. You want to go work, and once you sign something, all the information in there about what your payment is and who you're going to pay. You can go connect your payment system. You're going to go understand, what kind of obligations you have and what are they going to trigger off in your procurement system. You connect your procurement systems. If it's going to be with your source systems on CRM, et cetera, et cetera. And then last but not least, we take all that information, that data that's inside those agreements, and we allow you to do reporting on them, dashboards, insights, artificial intelligence processing, natural language processing. So it's the end-to-end story of, preparing, signing, acting, and managing on those contracts that we provide with our platform for agreements.
Okay, so the procurement experts would say that once a contract has been signed, everybody gets lazy, and
so true.
That whole issue of contract management is often ignored inside organisations.
Yeah.
So there are two parts to that I'm interested in. But firstly, what do you notice changes in a client's behaviour when they're using a more dynamic approach to document management?
And the first thing that happens is they are actually able to find those contracts. And you and I talked a bit about that before. There's an interesting phenomenon when it's, instead of having the dusty boxes, now you have the dusty pile of your hard disk with PDFs on them till someone needs it. And I think when they do, they thank their stars or whatever else they happen to believe in, that they went with a system like DocuSign, where they can do search dynamically, find what they need, to understand exactly what parts of the contract that need to pay attention to they're found. If they're getting acquired by another company and they need to produce certain information that's in the agreements, they can do that. Another example is, sometimes some regulatory changes take place. Most recently, there was around the LIBOR rates when LIBOR, being the benchmark rate, started to go away. Many companies were running around trying to figure out, change every single instance that referenced that as the interest rates for the contract. And if you didn't have a system like DocuSign in place, it was a nightmare. It's a manual nightmare. So that becomes a very important and useful set of ability that they only get if they have a truly digital solution that's not only used for signing it, but all the aspects I talked about before, and add to that the intelligence and the contract processing, and then it becomes a real payoff for investing in a platform such as DocuSign.
You also say that you've seen, or you've had experiences, or clients have had experiences where there's a takeover or acquisition, and everybody goes running to see what is in the contracts. Can you tell us how much less painful that process is, whether you've got a dynamic system versus an old, say, things sitting on discs or...
I think that's a really good example. And what we've seen is in those scenarios, it really becomes a few things. One, understanding all the obligations you've got, because you have obligations to and obligations from vendors and other parties. And especially in this kind of a takeover M&A kind of scenario, you want to know what is outstanding, when do I get what payment, when what schedule are they supposed to be done. And it becomes nearly impossible for these companies to really quantify that, unless they have a system in place which DocuSign provides to be able to quantify, report on, and start to work with that. The other thing that happens also is just finding certain artifacts that are important when two companies are merging, or they have maybe they have common clients, common customers, understanding that and what is going to happen to that commonality of the obligations that you want to work with. So these kinds of things are, like, I've literally talked to customers who spend months and months and months trying to get a handle on these things because they didn't invest in a truly, when we talk about digital transformation, this is transformation. This is the kind of thing you want to do. And it becomes, as I said, much easier for these kinds of examples, all the way from payments to obligations to common customers to compliance requirements, et cetera, et cetera.
So a client, like every client's going to be different. The documents are all going to be different. How does DocuSign work in that environment? Like, how granular can you get about the detail in a particular contract and have the intelligence to extract that?
So a couple of things there. One, I think, is there's some things that are common. The fact that most contracts have certain types of things in the payers, payees, obligations, etc. But we do get fairly granular understanding what we call at the clause level. What are the clauses in your contract you pay attention to? And we allow you to customize that, really get in and say, look, these are my clauses, here's my clause library that I use as standard, etc. And so that's something we enable to be fairly granular. And we are also investing more and more into what we call the model, the semantic model of the agreement, which means we capture the structure of the agreement, the meanings of what those clauses are, who the payers are, who the payees are, and we allow you to go and map that to your agreement. And once you do that, and then you can extend it. You can add different kinds of parts of your agreement. Maybe you happen to be in a certain industry where there's a specialized kind of clause and that cannot be tracked elsewhere. So we can allow you to extend it and add it in. And so we can allow you to be fairly granular and create that mapping, that model, if you will, of the agreement to a data structure, which then you can use for all the things we talked about.
Okay, and so lastly, Kamal, like DocuSign, the brand has a great value and like well recognized and so on, but you're clearly doing much more than that. Is there a simple way to sort of summarize what the company's become?
Yeah, the DocuSign is the SaaS, the platform for agreements. It's as simple as that. You have, Salesforce is the SaaS or the platform for CRM, Workday is for HR, SAP maybe for ERP. We are the SaaS platform for agreements, and every company has agreements, and that's what we do.
I agree. Okay, thanks for your time.
Thank you, appreciate it.